I wasn't invited to my own sister's wedding. Even after paying for it, she said I didn't fit the vibe, but the smile vanished from her face when the venue canceled everything at the last minute and she realized just how much she had underestimated me. I still remember the exact moment I found out I wasn't invited. It wasn't a talk, not even a slip-up or a letter lost in the mail. No, I found out like someone stumbles across a party they were never supposed to hear about through a social media post. There it was, a perfectly edited photo of a wedding invitation, gold letters pressed into fine paper, lying on white satin. The caption underneath read, "The countdown begins, can't wait to celebrate with all my loved ones on the most special day of my life." All her loved ones, except me. At first, I thought it was just an oversight. Maybe the invitation was delayed, maybe she meant to call and tell me. After all, I had spent the last 6 months doing everything I could to make sure she had the wedding she dreamed of. I paid the deposit for the venue when she and her fiancé ran short. I stepped in when my parents hesitated on the catering. I even gave her money for the dress, a dress I hadn't even been allowed to see. I scrolled through the comments under the post, friends, extended family, even some of her coworkers chiming in about how excited they were to be there. Someone even joked about how exclusive the guest list must be. That word stuck with me, exclusive. I started to feel sick. I sent her a message, nothing emotional, just a calm, "Hey, I saw the post, I never got my invite, did it get lost?" And then I waited, I watched for the typing dots, nothing. An hour passed, then 2. By nightfall, I told myself I was being paranoid. Maybe she was busy, maybe she didn't see the message. But at 10:34 p.m. my phone buzzed. It was her. She wrote, "Hey, I was gonna talk to you about this. I hope you understand, but we had to make some tough choices with the guest list. It's a very curated event, you know? We had to keep it elegant, no offense, but you don't really fit the vibe. I know you'll be happy for me from afar though, love you." Curated, don't fit the vibe, happy from afar. I read that message 3 times before it really sank in. I wasn't forgotten, I was deliberately left out, and I knew why. I didn't look like her circle, her friends with their designer watches and fake smiles and cocktail party talk. I didn't wear suits or discuss quarterly projections over brunch. I ran an auto shop, a successful one. I worked on luxury vehicles. Made good money doing it, but none of that mattered to my family. To them, I was the guy with oil under his nails and grease on his shirt, the one who always smelled like the shop, the one she barely acknowledged when introducing me to her friends, that tone in her voice when she'd say, "He works with cars." Like I changed tires on the side of the road for gas money. And now, after everything I had done for her, I wasn't good enough to sit at a table and watch her say, "I do." I should have seen it coming. It wasn't the first time they made me feel like I didn't belong. There were always little comments, little looks, my parents lighting up when she got promoted, but barely reacting when I opened a second location. I never let it get to me, I just kept saying yes every time they needed help. When she wanted a dream wedding and couldn't afford it, I didn't hesitate. I wired the money without blinking, not because I wanted credit, but because I told myself that's what family does. I believed that. I still remember her swirling her wine glass at dinner one night, sighing dramatically, "If you want something nice, you have to pay for it." I had laughed and said something like, "Easy for you to say," and she just shrugged and said, "You don't have student loans. You don't have to look professional, you wear the same boots every day." That was her world. Success meant appearances. She didn't care that I built something real, that I worked 12-hour days to give my guys steady paychecks, that I earned every dollar I had. All she saw was a guy with rough hands and stained jeans. But still, I helped her. Even when she and her fiancé came up short, again, I was there. I wired the money, told myself it was for family, that I wasn't doing it for recognition. And now here I was, not even worth an invitation. I didn't sleep that night, just laid there, staring at the ceiling, replaying every moment from the past few months, trying to figure out when she made the decision that I didn't belong. Was it that day I came straight from the shop to a family gathering, still in uniform? Or the time she introduced me to her friends and tossed out, "My brother, he works with cars," like I was some stranger she barely knew? Or had she always thought this way? The next morning, I drove to my parents' house. I didn't call ahead, I didn't knock, I wanted to hear what they said when they weren't pretending. As soon as I stepped inside, I heard my mother's voice coming from the kitchen. I could hear the disappointment in her voice before she even finished her sentence. "Well, you know how he is," my mother said, her tone carrying that quiet judgment I had gotten so used to. "I just don't want him embarrassing me," my sister added. "It's going to be a sophisticated event." I clenched my jaw as I listened. "I can't have him showing up looking like he just crawled out from under a car," she added. I felt my blood pressure rise. "He's family," my dad mumbled, but his voice was barely there, lacking any real conviction. "Exactly," my sister shot back, "and he should understand this isn't about him. I don't need him there making people uncomfortable. He doesn't belong in that kind of setting." I'd heard enough. I pushed the door open and walked into the kitchen. The second my sister saw me, her face turned pale. My mother started stirring something in the pot like it was the most important thing in the world. "So that's how you see me?" I asked, keeping my voice calm, almost too calm. My sister hesitated for a moment before straightening her back, trying to regain some composure. Don't take it personally, it's just not your kind of crowd. My kind of crowd? I repeated, crossing my arms. Come on, you know what I mean, she huffed, rolling her eyes. Everyone there is from the corporate world, lawyers, executives, people who actually network. You don't have anything in common with them. Right, because I don't sit in an office and push paper all day, I must be too dumb to hold a conversation. I never said that, she shot back quickly, but the look on her face betrayed her. My mother sighed from behind her, trying to soften the tension. Sweetheart, it's just a different kind of event. You have to admit, you do come off a little rough sometimes. You're always in those work clothes, and you don't carry yourself the way her guests do. I couldn't hold it in anymore. I own a business, I said, keeping my voice steady. I make more money than half of those sophisticated people you're inviting, but because I don't wear a suit every day, I'm not good enough? My sister groaned, the frustration building in her voice. It's not about money, it's about image. Look, you helped a lot with the wedding, and I appreciate it, but this is my day. I need everything to be perfect. I just don't think you'd fit in. There was the truth. It wasn't about what I did for her. It didn't matter that I had bailed her out time after time whenever she was in a pinch. No, to them, I would always be the dirty mechanic, the one with grease under his nails and oil-stained clothes. I exhaled slowly, nodding. Got it. Oh, don't be like that, my mother interjected, trying to shift the conversation. We'll have a nice family dinner after the honeymoon, just us. That'll be more your style? I smiled, but it wasn't out of kindness. You're right, I said, grabbing my car keys. That would be more my style, because in my world, when someone helps you, you don't turn around and treat them like garbage. Without another word, I walked out. As I drove back to the shop, my phone buzzed. It was a text from my sister. Don't make this a big deal, okay? You know I love you. Hope you can still help with the final payment for the cake. It's due Friday, XO. I laughed so hard I had to pull over. She really thought I was still gonna pay. She thought I would just swallow my pride like I always did. But not anymore. By the time I pulled into my shop, I had already made my decision. For years, I'd been the family's safety net. The one they turned to when things got tough. The one who always said yes, no matter how much it cost me. I had convinced myself it was my duty. That's what family does. But this was the last straw. My sister didn't just take my money. She took it while looking down on me. She happily accepted every check, every transfer, every single dollar I handed her. But when it came time to acknowledge me in front of her fancy friends, I wasn't good enough. And yet, she still had the audacity to text me about paying for the wedding cake as if nothing had happened. I had been played for a fool. Not anymore. I texted her back. Sorry. I wouldn't want to embarrass you by being associated with your wedding. I'm sure you'll figure it out without me. Good luck. No emojis. No fake kindness. Just a clear message. It didn't even take 5 minutes before she called. I let it go to voicemail, then she called again, then my mother, then my father. By the time I closed up shop that night, I had 12 missed calls. The next morning, I woke up to a series of frantic texts. Sister, what do you mean you're not paying? The cake is already ordered. Sister, you can't just back out. We're counting on you. Mom, sweetheart, don't be spiteful. It's just a misunderstanding. Let's talk. Dad, we raised you better than this. I stared at my phone, shaking my head. Not one of them apologized. Not one. I'm sorry we hurt you. Just expectations, just assumptions that I would keep playing my role. I called my sister. She picked up on the first ring. Oh my God. Finally. Listen, I don't know what's gotten into you, but you're acting crazy. You already agreed to pay, so. I changed my mind. I cut in. Silence. What? I changed my mind. I repeated slowly, letting it sink in. I'm not paying another dime. You'll have to figure it out yourself. Are you serious right now? She screeched. You're really going to betray me like this? I laughed. Screw you over? I said, my voice calm but cutting. You mean like how you conveniently forgot to invite me because I don't fit the vibe of your wedding? Or how you and Mom were talking about me like I was some embarrassment? That kind of screwing over? She huffed, her response coming through the phone as little more than a puff of frustration. Oh my God. It's not the same thing, my mother snapped. That was about appearances. I didn't mean it in a bad way, she added quickly, like it would somehow make things better. But this is actual money, real responsibility, and it's not my problem. I said calmly, cutting her off. You didn't want me at your wedding? Fine, but you don't get to take my money while pretending I don't exist. You made it clear I don't belong, so I'm acting accordingly. Oh, don't be so dramatic. She retorted, her voice sharp. You're just mad because you didn't get an invite. Grow up. I exhaled through my nose, keeping my temper in check. You know it's funny? I said, my voice low and steady. You think I'm upset about the invitation. That's not it. It's the fact that you used me, that you treated me like an ATM and still had the nerve to look down on me. That's what pisses me off. Oh, please, she scoffed, you have plenty of money, you wouldn't even miss it. And there it was. It wasn't gratitude. It wasn't even entitlement anymore. It was pure, blatant greed. You're right, I said, my voice colder now. I have plenty of money, and none of it is going to you ever again. Wait, she started, her voice rising. But I hung up. This time I was done. I didn't hear from her again for the rest of the week. But my parents, they wouldn't let it go. By Saturday, they were guilt-tripping me from every angle. Your sister is under so much stress. My mom whined. Can't you just do this one thing? It's already planned. What's a couple of $1,000 to you? My dad added, family helps family. My mother kept repeating that last part, like it was supposed to mean something. But I had heard enough. So I finally said it, family helps family? Funny. I don't remember any of you helping me when I was starting my business or when I was working 16-hour days to make sure I could afford everything on my own or when I paid for half of her wedding and still got treated like dirt. Silence. You guys can figure this out, I finished, I'm out. I hung up and blocked their numbers. Let them squirm. I didn't expect silence, not from my sister, not from my parents, not from anyone in my family who had spent years treating me like their personal ATM. I expected calls begging. Maybe even some thinly veiled threats disguised as you'll regret this or you're being selfish. But for 2 whole days, my phone stayed silent. And that's when I knew they weren't ignoring me out of anger, they were scrambling, trying to figure out how to replace the money I had just ripped away from them, trying to undo the damage of assuming I would always be there no matter how they treated me. And then, on the 3rd day, my mother showed up at my shop. She didn't call first, she just walked in like she owned the place, her eyes darting around at the cars being worked on, at my employees moving efficiently from one task to the next. I wiped my hands on a rag and crossed my arms. Something wrong? We need to talk, she said, her voice tight. I gestured toward the office, by all means. She walked inside, sat down in the chair across from my desk, and folded her hands in her lap. She looked uncomfortable, like she didn't belong here, like she'd rather be anywhere else. I took my time sitting down, wanting her to feel that discomfort. Your sister is in trouble, she finally said, her voice strained. I raised an eyebrow. Oh, don't act like you don't know. I don't, I said, leaning back in my chair, but I have a feeling you're going to tell me. She exhaled sharply, as if she had the right to be frustrated. The bakery won't release the wedding cake unless they get the rest of the payment. The venue is threatening to cancel the reception unless she settles the remaining balance. And she still hasn't finished paying the florist. I stayed quiet, letting her words hang in the air. The wedding is in 2 weeks, and she doesn't have the money, my mother pressed. She can't cover all this on her own. That's unfortunate, I said flatly. She blinked at me as if she couldn't believe I wasn't jumping in to fix it. You have the money, she said carefully, like she was speaking to a child. You could help her, and you wouldn't even feel it. I gave her a slow smile, and yet here we are. Her nostrils flared. Stop being petty, you agreed to pay, and she planned everything around that agreement. You can't just pull out at the last second. I tilted my head, keeping my expression calm. You mean like how she planned her guest list without me? Funny how that works. This isn't the same thing. Sure it is, I said. She made a choice. I made mine. She wanted a wedding without me in it? Great, that means she doesn't need my money either. Oh, for God's sake, my mother muttered, rubbing her temples. I waited, giving her time to think of something else to try. To guilt me, to remind me that family helps family, that I shouldn't hold grudges, that this isn't how I was raised. Instead, she let out a slow breath and sat up straighter. If you don't help her, she's going to have to downgrade everything. She'll be humiliated. People will talk. I laughed. Now we're getting to the real problem. Her face darkened. It's not just about appearances, she said stiffly. She deserves a beautiful wedding. She deserves exactly what she can afford. I corrected her, and clearly that's not the wedding she planned. Her lips pressed into a thin line. So that's it? You're just going to sit here and let your sister suffer? She's not suffering, I said flatly. She's getting a reality check, one that's long overdue. My mother stared at me for a long moment, her expression unreadable. Then she stood up, smoothed her blouse, and adjusted the strap of her purse. You'll regret this, she said simply. I shrugged, maybe. She left without another word, and I felt nothing but relief. Over the next few days, the cracks in my sister's perfect wedding plans started to show. First, she posted a vague status on Facebook. It's so hard when people you count on let you down, but I guess that's life. Right? I ignored it. Then, I got a call from a mutual cousin. Dude, what's going on? Your sister's freaking out. She said you bailed on paying for the wedding. That's correct, I said. But why? Because she didn't invite me, I said simply. Silence. Oh yeah, okay, I get that. The next day, my sister texted me. Sister, can we talk? I waited an hour before replying. Me talk about what? Sister. I don't want things to be like this between us. Can we meet for coffee? I almost laughed. She didn't want things to be like this? The same sister who had deliberately excluded me from the most important day of her life because I didn't fit her image? No, she didn't want things to be like this because it was inconvenient for her. But I was curious, so I agreed. When I arrived at the coffee shop, she was already there, tapping her manicured nails against her cup. She gave me a hesitant smile. Hey, I said, sitting down. She sighed dramatically. Look, I know you're upset. I'm not upset. I interrupted. I just finally see things clearly. She frowned. What's that supposed to mean? It means I get it now. I'm useful when you need something. But the second I become an inconvenience to your perfect little world, you toss me aside. That's not fair. She protested. Isn't it? I leaned back. You didn't think I was good enough to be at your wedding. But my money was good enough. You can't have it both ways. She pursed her lips. I just wanted everything to be perfect. And I didn't think you'd care. Well, now you know, I said. She hesitated. If I invite you now, will you help? I smiled. Then I stood up. Enjoy your wedding, sis, I said. But you'll have to figure it out without me. And I walked out. The morning of my sister's wedding, I woke up feeling light. No stress, no guilt, no obligations. For the first time in years, I wasn't burdened by their expectations. I had no reason to rush around fixing last-minute problems. No one was calling me to cover extra costs or begging me to step in and save the day, because I wasn't invited, and because I had finally stopped caring. But apparently, my family hadn't stopped caring about my money. At 11:27 a.m., I got the first call. Mom, I let it ring. At 11:42 a.m., my dad tried, ignored. At 12:03 p.m., my phone lit up with a text from my cousin. Cousin, bro, you're not gonna believe this. The venue just kicked them out. I stared at the screen and then laughed. The disaster. I had warned them. I had given them every chance to fix their mess. Instead, my sister assumed someone, anyone, would step in at the last second. But no one did. Without the final payment, the venue canceled. The staff literally locked the doors while the guests were arriving. People were standing outside in suits and cocktail dresses, confused, as the wedding planner scrambled to explain. And my sister? She was hysterical. The fancy 5-tier cake? Never delivered. The high-end floral arrangements? Cancelled. The high-profile wedding she had bragged about for months? Gone. At 1:15 p.m., she finally called me. I picked up. What? I said, my voice flat. Are you happy now? She shrieked. I leaned back in my chair, amused. About what? You know exactly what. She snapped. The wedding is ruined. Oh, I said casually. Didn't have enough money? You knew we didn't have enough money. She screamed. You were supposed to help. You promised. I chuckled. No, you assumed. Silence. You let me fail, she finally said, her voice shaking. No, I corrected her. You failed all on your own. And then, for the first time, she broke. I don't understand. She whispered. Why couldn't you just help? After everything we've been through, after everything I've done. Everything you've done? I repeated, my patience snapping. You mean like using me for years? Like taking my money without a second thought? Like treating me like garbage the second I wasn't useful to you? I didn't mean it like that, she muttered. You never do, I said coldly. That's the problem. Silence stretched between us. Then her voice wavered. So this is it? You're really just gonna walk away? I already did, I said. You just didn't notice until now. And I hung up. The wedding was moved to a relative's backyard at the last second. No extravagant decorations, no 5-star catering, just a last-minute setup with whatever they could throw together. I heard that my sister spent the entire night trying to hold back tears, too humiliated to even enjoy her own wedding. I didn't reach out, I didn't apologize, I didn't check in. I let them figure it out on their own for once. And for the first time in my life, I felt free. Final update, a year later. It took months before my parents finally accepted that I wasn't going to change my mind. At first, they tried guilt, then anger, then silence. Now they treat me carefully, like they finally understand that if they push too hard, I won't hesitate to walk away permanently. As for my sister, she never apologized, but she also never asked me for money again. I consider that a win. And me? I'm still running my business, still doing just fine. Only now, every dollar I earn is mine.